Welcome to Fly Nubian Money, where we help you master your mindset and maximize your money. And welcome to Fly Nubian Money, where we help you master your mindset and maximize your money. Y'all, the Senate has passed a major piece of legislation in a very tight vote, with high hopes that will address systematic issues, healthcare, infrastructure, and more. So this is all questions about whether this bill will truly benefit the Black community, or if it's just another political maneuver to keep us in the same cycle. So today, we're going to dive into the details of this bill. We're going to do it the best that we can within an hour. We're going to hit key points, but we're also going to talk about what it really means for Black America and whether we should be optimistic or skeptical. Listen, I have got a beautiful royal court with me today. I have Dr. Lene, Brand Your Brilliance Coach. I have Aisha Razi, financial expert. We have Nomalinga. She is our M3 program, marriage, motherhood, and money-making expert. Ladies, the day before the 4th of July, I'm going to hit you first with an initial question, and this goes for our viewership family as well. According to what you know already, I'm going to start with you, Dr. Lene. What is your first impression on the one big, beautiful bill? And do you think that it will have a real impact on Black communities?
My first impression is that it's not beautiful. It is big, but it's not beautiful, and it's definitely a bill. And it will definitely have impact on the Black community. Astounding negative impact on the Black community.
I think we all should be, that's my personal point. I think we all should have a day of sadness and then some over all of this. How about you, Aisha? What are your initial thoughts on this bill?
My initial thought was the name was funny, big, beautiful. So typical of the president way of speaking, right? A big, beautiful bill. But, in all honesty, some of the things that I've read are positive, and of course, some are negative. And will it affect our community? Absolutely. Always does and always will. Just a matter of, wow, how is this going to roll out, right? And how it's going to affect us down the line. So, yeah.
Right. And actually instantly with a lot of this. How about you, Noma? You have a great perspective. Both you and Aisha have two different countries. You have us and you have your country as well. So I really am interested in what you are thinking about this bill.
I actually believe this bill will devastate Black people. Everything that this current administration has done has been devastating Black people, especially those in the diaspora. I mean, this is the same administration that had the nerve to deport a whole bunch of people that look like us and then imported a whole bunch that didn't look like us blatantly. So why on earth would we think that any bill that is passed is going to ultimately affect us positively? Everything they do is going to devastate us.
I agree. And my point of view, answering the question for myself, is this is not only shocking, but for those who really thought that this wasn't going to affect them, whether they chose not to vote or not, baby, it's going to affect you immediately, and those that you love, including your elders, including your children. And it's very obvious that they're doing everything they can to help the big corporations and those who look like them, which does not include you, baby. So if you thought you were a they, no, baby, you are a them. So, I really love that President Obama still comes out and talks to us because, sometimes I just need his breath of fresh air. I really do. And he did say, he came out and he talked about the critique and that 16 million people could suffer. Now, this is from his social media. More than 16 million Americans are at risk of losing their health care because Republicans in Congress are rushing to pass a bill that would cut federal fundings on Medicaid and weaken the Affordable Care Act. It all goes back to his act. They don't want anything of his and they want it gone. If the House passes, which it has, it will increase costs and hurt working class families for generations to come. Call your representative today and tell them to vote no on this bill. Let me correct myself. At the last checking, Hakeem Jeffries, Cory Booker. Cory Booker was still standing on the Senate floor with his oppositions. And right before the show, I had not checked again. But they have already said it doesn't matter what he does, it's going to go through. So listen, we're going to break this down. And I think it's really important for you as the viewership in our community to understand what we are getting ready to look at. And hopefully we can have some solutions to help you get through these times. First, we're going to tackle the first part is the elimination of DEI. That's a direct hit on racial progress. And I'm going to start with you, Dr. Lene, because you help us brand our brilliance. And now more than ever, as we see that these DEI things are coming out, and women are the number one people who have been affected by these DEI rollbacks. How do you see, and what are your opinion about the elimination of DEI?
Honestly, I always go back to DEI has not been around that long. It's only been around 5 years, maybe 7 at the most. So I personally didn't heavily rely on DEI. I get it. I understand it. But we weren't the main people who saw any progress or results from DEI. So I know people are standing on, oh my God, DEI is rolled back, but it didn't help us or benefit us anyways. And it wasn't like this long-standing thing that's been here for 10 plus years. So it's not that major of a deal. When I talk about branding your brilliance, that's literally what I'm talking about. Like, you don't have to stand on DEI if you brand your brilliance, if you understand what you bring to the table, how you show up for that company, you know your stats, you know what you offer. If you show up in a company to be brilliant and to do work, that's what most companies are looking for, right? We see that Black men and Black women are elevating and escalating and seeing progress in their careers due to their work. Right. We do. That's not to say we still don't have to work twice as hard to get half as far. That's not to say that. But most times you're not getting a promotion based on DEI.
But I want to dig into that a little bit more because it's not just hiring and firing. DEI includes Black scholarships, Black-owned business contracts. They're all on the chopping block. And according to Project 2025, which is a huge part, pretty much 99% of this bill, they want to stop collecting race-based employment data, making it impossible to even track this discrimination. So we may not have benefited, but we're definitely targeted. Do you agree or disagree, Dr. Lene?
I think that based on this administration, yes. Right. So based on how this administration is going about it, but I don't think it's DEI, because when you talk about the other things that you're talking about, we're talking about minority contracts, I think these are two different things, right? Contracts, minority, MBDA, things of that nature. Those weren't necessarily DEI things because they were around long before DEI. I think they're getting swooped up in the DEI conversation because these are two different things. When I go to do a contract with the government, or I'm doing something internationally, I'm applying under minority business or minority this that the government has had around for years. That's not DEI.
You don't see them coming after that?
Yeah, I said, yes, I do. I said they're not the same though. They're two different things. The
Gotcha.
minority funding and whatnot through the government is getting swept up in the DEI. These are two different things. I don't really care too much about DEI because it hasn't been here that long. Somebody gave it and they're taking it away. This minority contract, these minority fundings, this minority scholarship, that I care about that because that has been in place for eons. That's been in place for years, and it integrates in a lot of different areas. So that I do care about. The minority fundings and things like that, but the DEI, not so much. It's only been around for like 5 years. It's like somebody saying, you know what, I'm going to help you out, and then they change their mind. That's okay. I'm not tripping on that. But this over here, it's how kids get to school. It's how black businesses have an opportunity. That's a completely different thing to me that's getting swept up into the DEI conversation is what I'm saying.
I agree. And I also love how they absolutely take words and things that used to mean one thing and try to change it into their agenda. So let's be clear that DEI was formerly known as affirmative action. Most people are thinking affirmative action and DEI are two different things. It's not necessarily so in their eyes. We're going to take a deep breath. I am really looking forward to seeing some of our families' comments out there. We put them in because this is real time, y'all, real time. We're going to take this break and we'll be right back.
It's a good show right here. But I'm biased. If you are just tuning in, you are watching Fly Nubian Money, where we help you master your mindset and maximize your money. My name is Tiara Williams. I'm also known as Miss Black Hollywood, and I'm the proud producer of this show because it is lit. If you want to receive notifications for when we go live Monday through Friday, 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All you have to do is text the word Queens to 87948. That's Queens to 87948. That's QUEENS to 87948. Also, if you want to grow your money and not blow your money, all you have to do is go to flynubianmoney.com. There's all kinds of resources, there's courses, there's free giveaways. There's just no reason to be broke in 2025. All you have to do is go to flynubianmoney.com. Obviously, you don't want to be entertained here. You want to know enough to grow. Wait, I need to put that on a shirt. You got to know to grow. Got to know to grow. So know and grow with Fly.
And you're going to need to learn and know and grow more and more every day. You cannot depend on other people to protect your financial houses. And this bill includes a lot of things that we are used to in our lifetime. Insurance, Medicaid, you name it, it's going to affect you. Please make sure that you start putting your financial house in order. Let's check out a video and then we'll get everybody's thoughts about what this says.
The One Big Beautiful Act just passed the Senate, and as somebody who works in Medicaid, I wanted to tell you guys about some of the programs that I work on and how they're going to be impacted and how that's going to affect you, even if you're not on Medicaid. Now, I work on quality improvement, and so a lot of the hospitals and states that I work with get money from Medicaid in order to improve the quality of care that the hospital or healthcare system is delivering. Here's the thing, when a hospital improves how it's delivering care, maybe they're hiring more providers so that they can increase access. Maybe they're getting community health workers who can meet patients in the home instead of patients having to come into the hospital all the time. And these type of programs don't just benefit people who are on Medicaid. If a hospital is using Medicaid dollars to hire more providers, those providers aren't only seeing patients who are on Medicaid, they're also seeing you and I. So with this bill cutting funding for Medicaid, and those dollars are being withheld now from hospitals and states, are they going to have the money to hire those providers? No, the money's gone. If you ever waited a long time in the ED, there are programs trying to reduce those wait times for all of us. Medicaid helps provide funding so that your doctor's office can do more breast cancer screening, more postpartum depression screening, improve pediatric care. And again, those programs don't just benefit patients who are on Medicaid. Because if a hospital improves their process, that's a good thing for all of us because we're all impacted by that improvement in the process. If and when this passes the House, buckle up. If you thought healthcare was expensive and low quality before, you ain't seen nothing yet. The One Big Beautiful Act just passed the Senate.
She says a lot on that. And, I'm going to talk to you, Aisha, about this. First, I want to read a comment. Anonymous person says, I feel betrayed because the one big beautiful bill does not have reparations in it. Trump could have put reparations in that bill, man. Dude, not today. You know darn well this man did not give a shit about any of us, reparations or no reparations. You keep hollering about reparations, but they are never going to give us our reparations on the 40 acres and a mule. You know that. We're not going to even debate that. So please don't start with that mess. You need to put facts in and your feelings in. But you and I both know reparations will never be seen in our lifetime, if ever. Now, Aisha, she is talking about a tax on public health and social services. You are our financial expert, and a lot of the times, you know, we don't have these things. We don't have the insurance. We don't have these type of services. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on what she said about the public health and the social services that she discussed. How is this going to impact our community?
Yeah, it's amazing when she was laying down all the different aspects that will be affected, and you would think, I say, wow, she's right, because if the funding is cut to all those services, then you have less people there to do the work, and then the workload will increase, and of course, who gets left behind? Our people, because when you go to the hospital, they will not look at you if you have a certain color, you're less been active taken care of. So that will affect us in that way for sure. And I know it's very sad to me. Unfortunately, this affects all of us, even though we're not thinking about it. It will affect every person, but some of us more than others. And then what do we do about this? Being in the financial industry myself, and just thinking about, now that I know more about how to prepare and how to plan, at the end of the day, there is something in us that has to help us understand that we can't rely on other people to provide some things for us, especially in America. It's just, you only keep hitting your head against the wall over and over again. In other countries, it's almost like a slap in the face if you go to a doctor and there's no doctor for you, because it's unheard of. But here is part of the money making machine. It's a capitalist country. So everything is capital. How much money? And then if you don't have the money, you get the worst treatment, right? Which is horrible. When other countries, it doesn't matter. Medical care you need, you get it. But again, we'll always bring that part in that say, well, if you don't have the money, you get less care. That's true. But there's something about if all of us are in the same boat. But in America, it's different. Some people get better treatment because of the way they look. So those of us that don't have that look, and then we have less people now helping, guess what? We'll be left behind in the corridor, probably to die, or no care, or nobody will check on us. That's the part that to me is tragic when it comes to this bill and the healthcare portion. It's very unfortunate, but we have to now start thinking about how can we take care of our own selves and not wait so much on these people, because it's not going to happen. It's going to keep being like this over and over again.
Yeah. You're so right. I mean, we do have to take to a lot, and that includes our own health. A lot of the times we're known to have diabetes. We have those type of, that's common in our community, high blood pressure. We really start now, you're not going to get the care. So you have to heal a lot with yourself and start eating properly and doing things of that nature. Not that will take away from what's going on in the bill, but that's something that we definitely have to address. Listen, it's not just us talking today. Listen, obviously Lala is not okay with this. And it's very hard for me to swallow, because this is one of my passions. I don't like to see my country burning, and it is already burning. So you have to give Lala a little bit of grace today, because she's really angry. And that's why I'm having a hard time getting through this conversation. But we definitely still want to make sure that we hear your comments. Let's look at a couple of other comments of what other people are saying on social media before we take a break. Let's check a couple of these out. Share Bear says, that is why it's important to get a copy of your promissory note talking about school loans. If at any time they violate, we sue. We just enrolled in school to avoid these payments. Seriously, democracy doesn't work with all or nothing approach. Louder for the people in the back. I have to agree with that. And this will affect people and their school loans as possible. We're going to take a deep breath. We're going to, no, Lala's going to take a deep breath and she's going to get her fan. Woo! Let's take a break. We'll be right back.
I know you're busy, you got things to do, and you can't take us on the go with you every single day. Good news for you. We are now on Spotify. So if you can't watch us, now you can listen to us on Spotify. Search Fly Nubian Money and all the episodes shall appear. All you have to do is like, subscribe, leave a 5-star rating, leave some comments, tell people how you love us so that when other people come along and are looking for a great show to watch, they can find Fly Nubian Money too. One last thing, and just in case you've been sitting under a rock, Fly Nubian Money now has an investment club. We are the Fly Nubian Money Club. It's easy. All you have to do is go to flynubianmoneyclub.com, and I am committed to bringing in top experts from all industries to help you level up. They're teaching us the skills that we need to compete in this market. We often say that nobody is coming to save us, not the government, but guess what? We're coming to save us. I'm coming to save you with the Fly Nubian Money Club. So listen, all you have to do again is go to flynubianmoneyclub.com. We have a 30-day free trial set up just for you, just for those people that are struggling. Even if you ain't struggling, you ain't got to struggle. I'm coming. Okay, let me stop playing. I'll see you soon.
All right, we are back. We are going to make sure that we actually hit 8 of the key points. We're going to try to get them all in. We've hit 2, but Noma, baby, you are my family expert. You are my family queen. And I want to talk to you about how they are targeting single parent families. And what they're doing in this bill is trying to force everyone into the religious perspective, the Christian religious perspective on family. And they plan to start weaponizing that with families. And this doesn't really reflect true life a lot of time in our communities. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
I'm glad you said you were angry, because actually sometimes our anger births a lot of action, or change. So that's actually a good thing. But to talk about the family structure, when you talk about American family structure, the people, unfortunately, with the highest rate of single parenthood is the African American community. So if they are targeting that specific demographic, then we already know what's going to happen. I've always said, I believe that part of the recovery of not just the African American community, any community that is really struggling, part of the recovery of that is building strong families and building strong communities. There's no way we can get around that. And this becomes more true now, because when you have less people to rely on each other, less people in a community who can help each other, you're really going to be devastated. I used that word originally on purpose because this will devastate some people. A lot of women that I know who are trying to do it alone, the thing that I'm always, saying is it's remarkable, because I think it's almost impossible, but we have women who do it and succeed and they thrive somehow. It doesn't change the fact, though, that when you do things or pass bills that directly target them, it's going to make things even harder. It's going to devastate some who are barely coping. So there's just no way around that. I think at this point we sound like a broken record. Educate your own children as much as you can. Build your families, hire your children, build businesses, try to be as self-sustaining as you can, and buy from each other, hire each other. That's the only way you can survive this devastation.
It takes a village, and we must build our village and our communities back up. It's time to get serious and stop worrying about what Hollywood is doing and worrying about what you're doing in your own communities to help build. Mm-hmm. If you know of something, turn around and teach someone. If you know that books are being banned in your neighborhood, order them and put them in and create your own little library where people can find them. It is important for us to make sure that we uplift our own communities. Now, I do want to add on one thing about that, because that is such a broad issue that they are attacking as a family unit. But they are, Project 2025, thoroughly enforces their belief that everyone should be a Christian family. We know that that's not the way of the world. There are many religions out there. So they want to promote what they call the traditional family. And that's not the only ideal. They also want to push fatherhood programs to fix the Black family, because they obviously see that they think we're broken and that we don't set the examples for our family. And that too is not true. We do value fatherhood no matter what media keeps telling you. We have another video that I would love to chat about, and we would love to hear your comments, especially on what Noma just talked about when it comes to families and our families being attacked. What are you going to do? What are you? This is an action question. What are you going to do to improve your community for our families? Let's check out this next video.
Here are the winners and losers from Trump's big, beautiful bill. 4 winners, 4 losers. Winner, corporations. Permanent tax cuts equal bigger profits. Investors win too. Losers, our kids. Adding $3 trillion to the national debt. We're just kicking that tax can down to the next generation. Winner, high earners. SALT deduction cap raised from $10,000 to $40,000. Loser, low-income families. 12 million families expected to lose Medicaid coverage over the next decade. Winner, waiters and bartenders. Tips are now tax-free. Loser, healthcare workers. Medicaid cuts means 5,000 fewer jobs in the field. Winner, fossil fuel companies. Big boost from rolled back regulation. Loser, Tesla. EV tax credits? Gone. That's 4 winners and 4 losers. Are you a supporter of the bill? Let me know. Here are the winners.
I am not a supporter of the bill. In no way, shape, or form am I a supporter of the bill. But he did talk about, Miss Producer, we have you on screen, Miss Producer. We're going to let her get her producing self over there. And we're going to talk about Medicare rollbacks. Dr. Lene, I want to talk to you because you know what? It's not just you and I, right? It's not just you and I that have to deal with Medicaid. A lot of our families have to deal with Medicare, our elderly, and a lot of times, a lot of our children. They're planning on pushing back any kind of grants, and they're planning on putting caps on Medicaid. And then they're going to also have work requirements for Medicaid recipients. And they're going to have these lifetime caps on benefit, which means that people can be kicked out of Medicare forever. Now, how is this going to affect our communities? Our Black Americans are disproportionately Medicaid recipients. And the work requirements hit Black communities where jobs are less stable. And a lifetime benefit cap means Black families can permanently be locked out. I would love to hear your thoughts on that and maybe some possible solutions, if you have any, to start preparing for these things that are happening. As we're speaking, guys, it's 8 hours into Cory Booker still standing in the House fighting this bill, but we know it's going to pass.
We are living in like disgusting dark times right now. Politically, let me say it that way, politically. I know Black families are thriving and people are thriving. So I'm not saying that as a community, but holistically, right? As people age, they become more vulnerable. They already lack comprehension, sometimes love. Sometimes family members don't want to deal with you. You're older. Nobody can stay home and take care of you. And so you look to Medicare, Medicaid as a support in the process of helping the elderly to age gracefully with some dignity, right? And so when you take these things off the table, you're putting more stress on the elder themselves, their ability to take care of themselves, and now the family. So a lot of times elders already feel like, I don't want to put you out, and I'm gonna do the best that I can. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna go to doctors. I'm gonna get my this. They're scraping by on Social Security or whatever the case might be. Now you're basically saying I was having this conversation the other day with a friend of mine. Jokingly, we were talking about our parents aging. We're like, it's like a Benjamin Button. Like they start out one way and they get older, and then you taking care of them again, and they're almost like a child again. Like, no, mom, you gotta do that. No, brush, mom, did you eat today? Like you gotta parent these kids, your parents when they get older.
Living it. I get it.
Literally, yeah, literally, right? It's a Benjamin Button. So I've been joking with my mom. I was like, okay, I joke with my mom and I've been calling her Benjamin. So I'm like, okay, Benjamin, wait till I get a hold of you. Wait till you get in my house. But it's gonna take something that should be fun and easy. It's gonna make it stressful. It's gonna make it difficult. If you have young kids, you gotta take care of your young kids and your parent. If your kids are out the house, you got to bring your parent into the house. Now you got two people in the house trying to manage for control because they still think they're a parent. And so I think it's going to add to some undue stresses to both the elder and the whoever's taking care of them financially. If you're barely making, now you got to try to help your parent make it. It's going to be bad all the way around. It's going to be bad all the way around.
It is. And so now, once again, we have to pull together for our communities, because let's not forget the elderly are the ones who used to take care of you. Okay. Their hands guided you. But I think a big myth about a lot of Medicare is that it's only seniors. It's not. Anyone could have a heart attack, have health issues in the middle of their life and still use that. And Anonymous, I stand corrected. You are right. I was remembering when Cory Booker was standing and doing his long talk. You are right. It is Hakeem Jeffries who is doing the talking right now. I stand corrected. Thank you very much. Let's look at some stats before we move on, because, we love to be able to share that as well. Not quite this one. We all frazzled. Okay. According to the Center of American Progress, Black Americans are still overrepresented in poverty, with 20% living below the poverty line in comparison to 10% of white Americans. Okay, I get that one, but I have a feeling, y'all, that's much higher than that. The Black community faces disproportionate health care disparities, including lower life expectancy and higher rates of chronic disease. A 2023 study by Economic Policy Institute showed that Black Americans still earn just 60 cents for every dollar that white Americans make, pointing to the need for policies that directly address wealth inequality. Y'all, we already know these. I bet you each and every one of us can recite every last one of these things in our sleep, right? But Noma, I would love to, this last video we watched talked about the winners and the losers, okay? They, of course, that came from a white perspective, of course, lower class, lower income families and what they consider lower class families. But he did discuss how corporations are winning. What are your thoughts about how the rich are just making sure that they are taking care of one another and everyone else be damned? They could be eaten by alligators.
Well, I think I can just reiterate what I was saying before. If the rich are taking care of each other, we're technically the poor, right? Statistically, or if you look at the poverty line, who's the biggest population in the poverty line? You look at healthcare, who's the most vulnerable. You look at unemployment, we're the most unemployed. I mean, and you could go on and on and on. So whether we look at it that way or not, we're the poor, right? If they're taking care of the rich, they're not taking care of the poor. So it's up to us to take care of the poor, and that means take care of each other. So, like I said, I always feel like I sound like a broken record.
You're not.
I don't see the traditional family inherently as a Christian thing. It is a safety measure. We do better when we have solid families, stable families. Families are the pillars of communities and societies. There's no way to get around that. I always used to have this analogy where I would say, if you had to run a race and people you're running with were running with two legs and you had one leg and you had to hop the way through, your leg can be really, really strong and you can make it. But my goodness, it's going to be tough. Why would you choose the one leg if you could have two, right? So I think there's not enough stressing that I can do of this, that it's so important for us to go back to building strong families so that we have the family support. I look at some of the some of the Black people that I've known, and it's like, they've been renting for generations. If one person loses their job, they're out on the streets. Then when you look at another family where they've been homeowners for a long time, you can always come home when life gets tough. Those are just basic things of having family support. If you're unemployed and your other family members are employed, again, you have somewhere to fall back on until you get back on your feet. If everybody's unemployed, everybody's renting, it's just devastating to think of. So if we can, I don't like the word of calling us poor per se, but I would say that we're the most vulnerable. And there are ways to mitigate that vulnerability. And it's understanding that we have to build systems. Like I've always been a huge advocate of family and, of course, homeschooling, of building businesses. And I've never said that you should yank your children out 100% from school. No, but you should not entirely 100% rely on the school system to educate your children. You should be their primary educator. I'm not saying people should all quit their jobs, but my goodness, you should have a side hustle. You should have some other ways of making money so that if you get thrown off that employment bandwagon, you have somewhere to fall back on. We should be building businesses where we're supporting each other in business and hiring each other. So again, when these things happen, you have something that insulates you from what's happening. I can't stress it enough that if there was ever a time to really tighten up and practice those principles, it is now. It is now, because a lot of Black people don't understand that they look at African countries and other parts of the world and they think, oh, look at the third world. But there's actually a little third world in America, and it's the Black community. If you look at the parallels of the poverty and the experience and how they're marginalized and all of those things, there's literally a third world in America, but people don't see it because you're living in a first world country.
Mm-hmm. And I think that Americans, and I have two other sisters who are the queens on this panel who understand this as well. When you leave American soil, a lot of the times other countries look at us as being the spoiled Americans. And that is an issue that if you never leave American soil, you never know about. You just living in your privilege right now. I don't care if you white, Black, green, or blue. If they see you as an American, you are a privileged American, and we take that for granted. Aisha, listen, I want to talk to you about the cutting support for immigrant families, which is, a big part of this. So they want to, or they're going to cut tax credits and social benefits to any immigration status. They're going to require verified work eligible Social Security numbers to claim key tax credit, like the tax child credit, even if that stays around, because that can go away too. And this actually excludes Black immigrants, from Haiti, Africa, the Caribbean, and have mixed status households. So this definitely can push Black immigrant children further into poverty. I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, it's incredible how the immigration also plays into what is happening. And as an immigrant myself, I understand why that is being done, because you can see where sometimes the assistance that is given to immigrants that are illegal, not legal, we're talking about illegal now, it's actually out of proportion. Because here am I, as an immigrant, wanting things to be done right. And I can see where there is a lot of places where there is complete misuse of funds, because they're overly focused on that and giving them benefits, and the Americans actually need those benefits and get them. So then how do you fix that if you don't really clean out the place to really understand who is truly here legally and has a legal status to get the benefits that they deserve? Because who suffers the most is the Black community. If we take all these benefits and allocate them to the immigrants that are coming here illegally, and they get they go to the hospital, they get all these benefits that the Americans don't get, we suffer the most, because most of them too come from the border. They don't look like us. They don't look like us, and they get all the benefits because they look like a group of people that looks like them, so they get all the benefit. Then we don't get it. So I think that they should tighten it up, because I think it's unfair for these resources to be given to people that don't look like Black people, but they get it because they fit in. And then the Blacks actually here that deserve it, that actually working 3-4 jobs, don't get it. It makes no sense to me. So I think something should be done. Definitely should be done. I'm okay with that.
Can I
Because
add to what Aisha just said? Because I had to have a come to Jesus moment and be corrected on that. Because I used to always say, why can they come here and do better? Like, we don't let other people come on your land and do better than you. And and somebody had to be like, yo, relax. They get more perks than you get. When they come over here, they get percentages off of things. They get loans at a different rate. They get money is sent for them. Like, they don't just come over here and outwork you. They come over here and get perks and benefits that
Absolutely.
help them to do better. Because I used to be really hardcore on how is it that people can come from another country and do better than us here? How is that possible? And I used to think like, so I had to have that corrected. So it is a weird.
It's a gray. There's a lot of gray in that. Yeah. There's a lot of gray in that. And I think that there's a lot of misunderstanding as well. But hey, they're the one who blew that gray out there.
Yes.
The government is the one who blew that gray out there. I feel like government is that big, in the Wizard of Oz, don't never mind the man behind the curtain. Just listen to what I'm saying, because that's exactly what they are. They're the whiz behind the curtain, and they like to keep us in a complete destruction.
Can I share something, Lala, real quick before you?
Sure.
So there was an event that was put out, and I went to that event. We're going on the immigration portion of this, and this gentleman stood up. He's not from our community. It's a different community. He came to talk about immigration and why we should support immigration and what they're doing with the immigration allocation or the funds allocated, why it's important. And he spoke. And I listened to him. To be honest, I was like you. I was furious. I said, so because people that are coming from the border look like you, they can get all these benefits. But the Blacks that live here, that their parents built this country, get nothing close to that, nothing. Somehow, they just shouldn't get it. But these people that are just coming across the border should be given all these benefits. It makes no sense to me. He was stunned because I said, to me, even as an immigrant, it makes no sense to me. But guess what? These particular communities spend their time protecting their immigrants from their countries. They do. They learn all the system of the country. So when their people come, they take care of them. We are the ones that are not doing what we need to do for our community, working together, also finding ways to make sure that when our people come here, they also rise up. So we're consistently not looking at that space and allowing them to take over. So I told him, I said, you can't do that. Americans that have been here, Black Americans build this country, but you're taking all these things and these people coming in, they have credit cards to buy this, they have a place to stay, they go to see the doctor, and it's paid for. And he said, well, we have to help people. I'm like, yeah, your people, not the Black Americans. I think he was stunned by that.
Oh, they usually are whenever you point the finger back at them where you're telling truth. But, this all also ties into a big major thing. And I'm going to throw this to you, Dr. Lene. I know we've talked about DEI and we've got some real good clarification on that. But we also need to talk about how we are. Am I good?
Here she comes back.
Okay. So I was talking to you, Dr. Lene. We've already talked about DEI, but we can't move forward also without kind of tying that in. And this is another point, even though it's separate, they're rolling back civil rights in employment and other things. So, and they're making it impossible to prove systematic discrimination because they want to get rid of all this accounting and getting rid of, like, you can no longer do this because this is DEI training. I'd love to hear your thoughts on how that may differ from DEI, but still yet be its close cousin.
Anything, or let's say it this way, any way where we can keep Black folks out of the top, at the table, in a position of power, making more money, being more educated, is on the chopping block. It's a part of the agenda, right? I'm always thinking about the minority majority. These folks ain't foolish. They know that they're going to be the minority majority, and they are doing everything that they can to put in place systems and processes that keep them from that, if that makes sense. They know that they're about to lose. I believe it says something like that. There will be no majority. So it'll be the blacks will be here, whites will be here, Hispanic, whatever. But everybody will be equal. So although they are quote unquote the majority because of who they are, they will not have a minority. They will become a minority because they won't be the majority of people. And so if you think about a lot of the things that they're doing, voter suppression, wealth hoarding, immigration crackdowns, education control, healthcare sabotage, cultural rollback, these are all things that help them keep some level, minuscule control, because they have a fear of loss of political power, loss of cultural centrality, accountability for past harms, and economic competition. They trying to do everything that they can to offset that. And it happens by 2045. That's like in 20 years. So they're doing everything in their power to try to figure out, how do we manipulate this to make sure that our children don't have to pay for our father's mistakes? How do we make sure that as this world starts shifting, that we don't lose political power, that we don't lose conservative views? And so the writing is on the wall. What we have to do is say, with this writing that's on the wall, with what's happening in the administration, with where AI is going, with where business is going, with who Black people are, how do I benefit from this?
Because that's what you need to do. Yes, you need to tap into that void.
Yes. This is what's happening. How do I either make sure it doesn't happen to me, B, benefit from it, because you can monetize these types of situations, C, help the community, and really C should be part of A and B, right? But we can fight it, or we can figure out, how do we benefit from it?
Exactly. And that's where we have to think outside the box. But our producer did bring up a really good point, and I do want to bring that to the table as well before we go to commercial. It's something for you to think about. There are many times where there are grants and things for us in our community, and we don't show up. Now, is that because we're lazy, or is it because we were misinformed, or we don't understand? With that, we're going to take a commercial and we'll be back.
Are you a Black business owner looking to expand your reach? Well, has Fly Nubian Money got good news for you? We are building a Black business directory to connect you with customers who need your services. And here is the best part. It is absolutely free. Email us at info@realvirtual.net. Send us your business name. Tell us a little bit about what you do, what services you offer, your website address, and your contact information. That's it. Together, we are going to build and circulate the Black dollar. Get listed today and start connecting with people who are probably already looking for you.
I think we're all looking for you. If you haven't been thinking about that until now, it ain't too late to jump on the bandwagon. You need to be supporting our communities. If you have a business, we're here to help you, and it's free. You heard the word free, 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 free. Send your information in about your business so that we can build our directory and share your information out. We don't send me no poo butt stuff. I want it all. I want your name. I want your business name. I want your website, your phone number, a bio, telephone number. You name it, you give it, so that people can find you and to fill the void that are being snatched away from us, and to keep our Black dollars circulating in our Black communities. You send that to info@realvirtual.net. Do it today. The sooner you do it, the bigger the book's going to be, and the options that you have will be there. And we don't have to worry about Blackout Friday because we already have our directory done. So do that today. Now, listen, I left you all with a key point. I'd love to hear some of our comments from our viewership family. I am going to hit a couple of comments. Jamie One said, historically, illegal immigrants and originally Black slaves drove the U.S. economy. The hit from this alone will harm the U.S. money machine. Not when they're trying to put us all in jails and make us work for free. That's what they're trying to go back to. What do you think alligator Alcatraz is? The King of Bakersfield says reparations now. Black Lexicon says this saddens me greatly. It even nullifies thievery as a viable solution. If God has allowed this, people need to earnestly pray to him. Very interesting take. But then once again, who's God? Don't forget, we're not a Christian nation. They want us to be, but there are many others that worship in different religions. So whose religion? Who do we base this on? As I recall, we came over here for like freedom, but freedom on everybody else's oppression. So Deborah says we have to read more as a Black community, and to keep our paperwork in order. Yes, and then Black Lexicon also says financial crimes by less fortunate businesses will increase. If men in Congress can pass this in good conscience, they just have made Diddy comparable to a saint. They can be forced to pass anything. All right. Now I had to giggle at that one. I like that kind of analogy. All right. We're not talking about it today, but we sure got him in there, right? But listen,
He's not going in there. He diddled his way into the conversation. Right. Can we go back to the grant conversation? Because
yes.
Deborah had a point. We have to not keep our paperwork in order. So Tiara was talking about going in certain spaces where we're not there. And people always ask me, like, why do you only deal with Black people? And one of the reasons is because nobody specifically speaks to us. And I'm in rooms where I am the only person, right? And I don't take it for granted. I know that I'm paying $5,000 to be in rooms, $10,000 to be in rooms. So I know that some of that comes from that. But one of the things I have found is that we have to get into certain rooms and we have to have certain conversations, because if we don't have them, people will have them for us. And so one of the things is grants. And I think I'm about to become a grant ambassador, because there's these grants that go out for, at least back in the day, before, there's the new administration, that go out for the Black community, that go out for underserved, that go out for underprivileged, or whatever word you want to use. And we don't apply for these grants. So what happens is somebody that does not look like us will apply for this grant. Let's say the grant is for $50,000 for the community. The community doesn't show up or qualify to get the grant. Maybe their paperwork's not in order, or they're not an established business, or whatever the case might be. So another community will go and apply for this $50,000 grant that is supposed to be earmarked for us. And what they do is they receive the $50,000 grant, and then they'll take off administrative costs, founder costs, operating costs, dwindle the grant down to about $15,000, and then give that to somebody in the community. We have to show up. We have to
show up.
You got to show up. You have to be in rooms. You have to be in conversations. I just applied for 5 grants last month. I won't hear anything till this month, but I have literally added grants to my business model.
Yes. And I can attest to that. My son just got a great grant for his business as well, and a free iPad. It is out there. You just have to apply. Mm-hmm. And you have to also do a little digging. Y'all, believe it or not, y'all remember in the early 80s, what was his name? Matthew Lesko? The guy who used to come on in crazy hats and all these grants. He wasn't lying. He's still doing it, y'all, in the age of 80s. He's out here still telling you that there are grants there. Believe it or not, look it up. And he talks about all grants for everybody. So there is resources out there. You just have to dig for them, right?
One more thing, just since we're on grants, just to make this real for you guys, don't look at grants that you think make the most sense. Because I think that's where we, as Black people, if you are a child care professional, you might go looking for child care grants. Don't do that. Go look for community grants. Go look for startup grants. Go look for grants for people who make under $100,000. Go look for, and that's why we miss the grants. We're only looking for a single grant based on what we do in our industry. No, think about every tentacle of your business. Is it for children? Are you Black? Are you in a certain state? Are you in a certain community? Are you serving a certain type of a child? Does it improve the community? Are you using AI? Do you need tech? Fast. I have a client who just did a $40,000 grant with FedEx.
Woo, she did not say 3,000. She
40.
said 30,000.
A $40,000 grant with FedEx.
40.
Shipping.
40.
She's a chef.
And so you have to think outside the box and don't just assume. Apply for everything. You never know what it's going to hit. And sometimes you may just get it because somebody else didn't. Okay. So be thinking outside of the block because that's really important. Now we have 2 more points to discuss. And I'm sorry, we may go over just a little bit. I'm sorry, ladies, this is just too important. And I do want to hit you, Noma, with this because one of the major things that they are doing in this bill is crushing public schooling and pushing for privatization. They want to focus giving private school vouchers and homeschooling with religious learning. You see how they're throwing that all in there, right? So that's doing. How's that going to hurt our community? Black children in underfunded schools lose even more resources. And our public schools and Black communities will face deeper cuts. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, please.
Well, this is where there was a cross section between, I guess, my view on things or my perspective on things and what are sometimes seen as extreme conservatives. When you get into the homeschooling area or community, most of those people are extremely conservative. And that's part of the reason why they homeschool, because they're trying to get their children away from the mainstream media, the mainstream everything. So to me, that sounds like good news, because I will tell you this. If you look again statistically at Black children in public school, I remember I used to talk a lot about the preschool to prison pipeline. That was something that, overwhelmingly was directed at Black children, and they would be marked from kindergarten age, first, second grade, and it would follow them all the way through elementary and secondary, or all the way through to the time that they finish high school. And what it is that they are marked as maybe having a disability, as having a behavior problem, or whatever it is. But what happens is they go into the system. And once you're in the system, it's almost over for you, because you've been almost like blackballed for the rest of your life. So for me, I'm not threatened by more privatization, more homeschooling, and less public school, because the public school system has been extremely detrimental to Black children. I've always encouraged that even if you can't afford, or your family dynamic is such that you can't afford a parent who can stay home and homeschool their children, do it on the side or whatever it is. But if they're now going to offer us grants and support to do more of educating our own children, I love that. I love that. I don't really have a problem with that.
I don't either. Any way that we can. We obviously know our history more than what they want or willing to teach us. That's being pulled out, everything that they can. And so here's the last topic, and this is one that is dear to my heart. It is the elimination of affordable housing. I have taught first-time home buying courses since 2006. I taught them with nonprofit organizations where people can come and take a full day's class on a Saturday. And they get taught everything they need to know, from financials to the process. I gave them sample contracts, everything, you name it. I went from the top where you're just thinking about it, baby, till I'm handing you keys and what comes afterwards and what you can expect. So they are targeting these. They're defunding a lot of these affordable housing programs. We have a Black man who knows nothing about real estate, who is over our HUD department, and they are slashing things as we speak, and also working with ICE to let ICE know where people of color are as a direct target. They plan to scale back the affordable housing programs and the initiatives and any kind of HUD programs that they're offering. And they are also rolling back fair housing enforcement. Now, we know this from the very beginning of Trump's career, that his whole world was centered around real estate. And the fact that this man cut all of these buildings in New York City where people died and froze to death, because instead of putting in insulation in a house, he decided to pocket the money. So these are what you're going to be facing with these corporations that are now stepping in. Another thing that you also need to know about the housing that they're doing is they want to change the fact of inheritance. If your mother and father give you a house in your inheritance, and you cannot immediately pay the property taxes at today's rate, they're going to take the house and put it on auction where corporations can grab it immediately. You need to know that. So housing, your basic principle of food, health, and shelter are all being taken away by this one big bullshit bill that will only make sure that they take care of their own. We went over a little bit, everyone. I appreciate everybody's comments, and I really appreciate our queens delving in. I want to hit a couple of comments before we actually get into our final thoughts. Black Lexicon says, always has been a top of mind. If I visit a new city, it tells me a lot about the city's cultural values. I think that he means like public schools. Deborah says the public school is set up like a prison and a prison yard. A lot of them are, yes. Anonymous says Abraham Lincoln was homeschooled. A lot of older people were homeschooled because they weren't, there wasn't a school around. And then someone said, Deborah said, ICE is going into churches and shelters to pick up people. Just yesterday, they were in Long Beach at Target, attacking people at Target. And C. White says there will be have and have nots. We are already seeing that. Anonymous says, damn, Lala Kirsten. Oh, baby. I toned it down because, yeah. But you're getting it today. Listen, this was really important. I hope that you have learned something today, because maybe you didn't quite understand what this bill meant. Yes, it's like 900 some pages, but baby, all you got to do is ask ChatGPT how it affects you and your family, and even go deeper. I am a student, blah, 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 blah. How is this going to affect me? You need to learn right now. No longer waiting, no longer putting it off, no longer thinking that, this doesn't affect me, because baby, it affects you. And you need to be educated on how you're going to protect you and your family and our communities. All right? Woo, fan time. Dr. Lene, what are your final thoughts on all this, and where can we find you?
Sometimes I be having simple final thoughts. My final thought today is be one, Black first. Like that's it. Keep us first. Keep us first in your thoughts. Keep us first in your prayers. Keep us first when you're thinking about who you're going to spend money with. Keep us first when you're thinking about business. Start a business, even if it's a side hustle. And I hate to use the word hustle, but you're going to need to make sure that you have a little pocket change, as the old saints say. You need to have a little pocket stash, a little pocket book, a little something. Because if, Lord forbid, something does happen to a family member, and like Lala was saying, you have to have money right here on Johnny on the spot. You need to do that. We need to have a little, I'm not gonna say put the money in your mattress, but we, Dr. Boyce calls it some FU money. We need some FU money set aside. The dark days, I would like to say, are coming, but they're here. They're here right now. And if you can see the writing on the wall, if you can see that they're coming for your job, for your home, for your family, for your child's education, if you can see that, then you as a parent, as a person, as a human being, as a Black American, or as a Black, let's say Black diaspora, because you don't have to be a Black American. You just have to be African or African descent, right? Start preparing for it today. In 5 years, we can't turn around and be like, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. You can, because you see it. So prepare for it. I'm Dr. Lene Javette. You need help with branding your brilliance, or getting a better job, or doing better in your business, or making some money? Holla at your girl.
That is now marching orders. I didn't give you an assignment. I'm giving your marching orders. You need to brand your brilliance. Please make sure you hook up with Dr. Lene, because she has the resources to help you to do just that. Noma, I would love to hear your final thoughts and where we can find you. You're muted.
Yeah. Sure. I was saying one of the things that I thought was really important when we're talking about the housing or the shelter portion of this is I always think about group economics. I think about multi-generational living. When we look at when I've seen people who have thrived where they should have been poor, I've seen a lot of multi-generational living. I won't specifically say which communities, but I saw it a lot. I've seen families arrive and then thrive a few years later because they really mastered multi-generational living. It doesn't make sense anymore that you should have a family where maybe there's five people and all of them live in five different houses when they can get a bigger, maybe 3-story house and all live together and save together, and insulate themselves from financial difficulties in that way. The same thing happens with when you're buying properties, when you're building businesses, group economics. When you pool together and you have one big fund, it's better than when everybody's trying to do it by themselves. So those are two things that I thought were very important to point out. And then the last thing, Dr. Lene kind of touched on it when she's talking about preparing. If we already know right now that we inherit a house, that you're going to lose it if you don't have the tax money ready. Plan, prepare as much as you can. You have to plan and you have to prepare so it doesn't happen to you. The last thing that I'll say is I can't stress enough that when you're kind of comfortable, you can kind of forget the things that you're supposed to do. But I think that the squeeze that we're feeling now is really going to require us to be sitting upright, paying attention, all hands on deck, and really doing what we've been preaching and talking about. I mean, for me, it's been, I think, 15 years where we've been talking about Black success, Black excellence, Black education, Black businesses. We've been talking about that for so long, but we've come to a point now where we really, really need to move on it. My name is Noma Langda. You can find me on social media at Facebook under the name Noma Langda Salvi Moses. On Instagram, I'm Noma Moses, and I also have my own YouTube channel at on the same name. And I also do have a charity called Paths for Our Girls, which is based in Botswana. We take care of period poverty, where there are young girls in remote areas who cannot go to school because they do not have the money or the resources when they're on their period, so they miss school. So our charity supports them. If you would like to donate, you can go to pathsforourgirls.com, and we'd be very appreciative of anything we can do.
Absolutely love that very much. We want to give our girls the opportunity to get the education that they need. I absolutely love that you are doing that, Noma. All right, Aisha, what is your final thoughts, love, and where can we find you?
Final thoughts. It's just very simple for me today. It's community. We need each other, and we should find ways to work with each other, because that's the only way. And we should share what we know so we can all grow and build together. Really, community, 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 and the power to vote. Right when the time comes, read what is out there, what they're putting out, and vote accordingly. But I also love the fact that we have the chance to vote them out of office when that time comes. Those are my final thoughts. Where can you find me? I'm in the Black Business School as a coach, so you can find me there, and also www.aishaverzi.com if you have any questions with finances, understanding what you should have ready to prepare properly. Reach out to me anytime. I'm here to help.
You got your marching orders. We are no longer telling you, you really should. Oh, you gotta. Now you must make sure that you check out every last one of our queens, because we are giving back to our communities in what we have our expertise in, minus housing. So here is my final thoughts. You can no longer talk about it. You need to be about it. This is no longer a joke. You can laugh all you want to, but no one's going to be laughing when it actually hits your household of what's happening. In summary, I'm going to do this in my point. Here's what's hitting us. What's being dismantled is DEI programs, Medicaid protections, affordable housing, public education funding, civil rights enforcement, immigrant family support, health and social services. Every last one of them is targeting you. And guess what, guys? We're no longer the target. They are moving forward in action. If you are thinking about moving out of the country, guess who's here to help you? You can think out of the box. You are a world citizen. If this is too much and you're just like, you know what, nah, not today, I'm going to go and enjoy my life, then I have a quiz on my website for you. And you can go there and take that quiz and see where you are and what's possible for you in your life to have a thriving and happy life. You don't have to sit. If you even think you can't afford it, you don't have to sit in it. You don't know unless you ask. A closed mouth never gets fed. So go to www.laurakey.net. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, Queens. I can't even begin to thank you for all of your expertise today. I really appreciate you, and I'm proud to call you all my sisters. I want to thank our viewership family, C. White, Black Lexicon, Anonymous, Yvette Terry, Deborah, Dr. Vibe. We have so many people that come and join us every day. JB1. We have so many people that come and support this show, and we wouldn't have a show if you didn't come and support. So you are important to us, and we appreciate you. Now, listen, thank you for joining us today. Tomorrow is the 4th of July. Whether you celebrate it or not, I do not. I celebrate us during that day. Thank you for joining us as we unpack the new one big, beautiful bill that I don't call that, and what it means for Black communities. While it's easy to get excited about new legislation, the real work is in holding our leaders accountable and making sure that the promises made are delivered. So let's stay vigilant. We need to stay engaged. We need to keep fighting for the systematic changes that will truly benefit us. So until next time, stay strong, keep pushing, educate yourself and your families, and always, always keep your eye on the real prize. That's true and lasting change. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day. Be blessed. Bye.